This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Deluxe Edition. I am your host, Casey Shearer. Joining me, as always, Big El Ray Sexton.
What's going on, Casey?
Not too much, buddy. How are you?
We're having a great Sunday.
Really good Sunday, man. This was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
You want to tell everyone who we just talked to before I do the house cleaning?
We just got done talking to the boys behind Fatman, which is in my top 10 Christmas movies of all time now, which we did that other podcast, and I clearly put it in my top 10. I think it might have been in my top 5.
Yeah, we talked about it with the Nelms Brothers, the writers and directors of Fatman, and they have a new movie coming out soon, coming out this Friday, actually. Make sure you watch it with Orlando Bloom and Andy McDowell. It's called Red Right Hand. Ray and I have had the pleasure of seeing this movie already, and it is fucking fantastic. You've never seen Andy McDowell in a role like this, and I don't know if you've ever seen Orlando Bloom in a role like this. It is really good.
Yep. Everybody got to hit the theaters on Friday and see this one because it is amazing.
Yeah, either your theater, if you can't make it out to a local theater to see this, it will be on VOD, as the kids say, video on demand, everywhere on February 23rd, 2024. So before we get into our chat with the Nelms Brothers, let's just do what I call the house cleaning. We are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network. You can find all the other great shows over at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Podcasts of the month this month are Films and Fermentation and Friends Talking Nerdy. 2 great shows over on the network. Go check them out. We're up to 33 shows over there. They're all amazing. Go check them out. If you'd like to see any of our previous shows, go over to deluxeedition.show. You can find them all over there. I update that every week. We've got a lot of shows coming up. You can also see what we have in store for you. Ray handles all the Instagram duties over on Instagram at Deluxe Edition Pod. What kind of stuff are you doing over there, Ray?
Lots of memes, lots of reels. Check it out.
Yeah. Cool stuff. We're on TikTok too. Go find us on TikTok. I forgot to make one of those gimmicks on here, but Deluxe Edition with Casey and Ray over on TikTok. You can find a ton of reels over there. And let's see, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Deluxe Edition Pod. Go buy a t-shirt, whatamaneuver.net, search for Deluxe Edition. Let's see, email us at deluxeeditionpod@gmail.com. Ray's got some bootleg t-shirts over on TeePublic. What kind of stuff are you doing over there, Ray?
Well, over at my site, you can get coffee mugs, diapers. I mean, you can get anything you want over there in 60 different colors. Want to get your lady friend a tank top for summer? We got those in white and extra small. So you know, just saying, summer's coming.
Yeah, summer is coming up, and there are tank tops aplenty over on tpublic.com/user/scent-beer-night-podcast. All the links will be in the description. And sponsor this week, Ray, back to the Sunday Scaries. I've been hooked on these things, man. This legal, like, I'm a big weed guy. Everybody knows I smoke pot every week, every day, not every week, every day. But these couch potato, these legal, I don't know how they do it. I don't ask questions. These are THC Delta 9 gummies. They're legal somehow. I don't know, but they fucking work, man. They're good.
Well, how can the people watching this get themselves some of those?
Oh, it's very simple, Ray. All you have to do is go over to sundayscaries.com, and to save 20% on your order, you can use code Deluxe15 to save 20%. It's an old code. They've upped the percentage off, so you save 20%, but use code Deluxe15. sundayscaries.com. All right. And anything else, Ray?
Now let's get to it.
All right. Here is our chat with the Nelms Brothers. I'm Casey. That's Ray over there with the long hair. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Great. I'm Eshom Nelms.
And I'm Ian Nelms.
I've been wanting to get you guys on for a long time, so I don't know where to start. Big fans of you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, man. Thank you.
I saw Fatman, I think, when it first came out, and I was hooked on your movies. I guess so. Let's just, I guess let's start with Fatman. So there's not too many movies that I watch every year at Christmas time, and now this has become one of those.
Oh, amazing,
man.
dude. Thank you. That
Thank
warms
you.
our heart, brother.
Yeah, it's a fucking great movie. So, like, tell us all about it, man. Like, how did it all come about? I mean, because we'll get there eventually. I mean, you made your first fucking movie for $1,500. So how does Fatman come about after all that?
I guess
It was something we wrote really early on. Actually, it was
Yeah.
it was the first script we wrote that got some attention, and that was back in 2005. I think was the first draft of that movie that we wrote. And we would get into meetings, and people would say, "Okay, we like this script, but like, what's the tone?" And we would be like, "Well, it's action, drama, some comedy, a little bit of Western at the end." Like it was all across the board, and we weren't savvy enough at the time in 2005 because we both had just gotten out of college, moved to LA. We'd been in LA for 3 years, out of college for 3 years. Right after we got done, we moved right out there. We weren't savvy enough. We hadn't had enough meetings to pitch it or to know the tone. And even if we did know how to pitch it perfectly in a meeting, we were being told that we weren't going to get to direct it anyway, because you need to be able to have something to show, like, hey, I can accomplish this tone. So we were running into roadblocks all over the place, and then we sort of decided, okay.
Yeah, I don't know that going out and writing Fatman as your directorial debut was like the best idea.
It's hard to translate. It's really hard to translate when you have nothing to show that's like it. So we immediately said, okay, well, we need to start writing some stuff that we can actually shoot. And so we started writing down, and like we realized, okay, Fatman, which is, probably $10 million, like that, we're not going to get that first out of the box. Like let's write something that we thought was like $5 million, or which people were actually getting started at the time. Artists out of the late 90s, early 2000s were coming out and getting like, oh, I had a short film, and now I'm doing a $5 million film at New Regency, or now I'm doing a $5 million film somewhere. So it wasn't out of the question. It was kind of the model. We're like, okay, we're gonna write a $5 million film. We wrote that film, and as soon as we wrote that film, the sort of DVD market started falling apart, and they were like,
this is around 2008.
yeah, and they were like, the $5 million entry level movie just moved down to $2 million entry level movie. And we were like, my God. So we had finished a script that was actually doing really, really well around town. It's just no one would let us direct that one. And that was the $5 million one. So then we were like, okay, well, let's do something that's $2 million. So we promptly went out and wrote something that was $2 million, and we were really pumped, and we were getting great reads. And then
It's a vicious cycle, gentlemen.
The economy crashed. The economy crashed. Another 2008 housing crisis problem. And then everyone's $2 million entry level movie was now a $200,000 movie.
And then pretty much there was like an embargo on first time directors.
And it was like, hey, you haven't done anything. You need to go make a $200,000 movie before we even like realized you existed. And at that point, we had made a $1,500 feature film and a $5,000 feature film with our friends in a collaborative effort. The $1,500 one got us in the door at some festivals. We didn't win any awards or anything. We were just lucky to be there, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we got into a couple film festivals, one being the Palm Beach International Film Festival, which at the time in the early 2000s was like a top 20 in North America film festival. So like they had all kinds of really high profile guests, Bai Ling, Woody Harrelson, had some movies with some really high profile people. It's kind of like the second run after like a Sundance, and then people would go to Palm Beach.
We were definitely the scum at the festival.
We barely, if they had 30 films, we were film number 30. We got in by hook or crook. We got in, and it was funny because all those old adages of like, you can't tell who's watching your film at a film festival. People would tell us, it's probably some 9-year-old woman like watching your film, and of course she doesn't like your film. You guys are young guys, so like we're like, oh, that's malarkey. We go to the Palm Beach International Film Festival, and we're setting up our little like okay, like a little poster and like, you know, we were actually giving away raffle tickets because we were going to raffle off a 6-pack of beer in theme with the movie. And we were setting this up, and this woman comes up, and she's like, "Who are you guys?" And she's like this 80-year-old woman, and we're like, "Oh, we're the Nelms Brothers. We made Squirrel Trap." "Oh, I just loved your movie. You know, I really went at him in the meeting and said we have to have this Squirrel Trap movie here at the festival."
We literally were the 80-year-old,
and we were the ones that the 80-year-old woman went to battle for us and got us in. So
she's out there slugging for those new filmmakers.
It was unbelievable, and that she was actually positive on the film was even more unbelievable. That she was the catalyst for how we got into that film festival. So it was really an amazing experience because we made this film. It was like 82 minutes long. Made it for $1,500 with 5 people we'd worked with that were aspiring actors. And I worked at Tony Roma's. Eshom worked at ArcLight Cinemas. Lots of aspiring filmmakers.
We're in the Night of the Dog now.
That was
Squirrel Trap. Yeah.
So then we came home and everyone was like, "Well, you made a movie.
You made a movie.
Way to go!" And there was no like, "Wow, what a movie!" It was like you made.
We were not winning Sundance. You know what I'm saying?
No. So then after that, we decided we were really hungry though. We were sitting in like real movie theaters with Squirrel Trap with like 250 seating with like 50 people in it, 20 people in it.
Sparsely populated.
But people were laughing in the right places. And to look at your movie up on a movie screen and just like people reacting like it's a real movie, it was just kind of incredible. We were just blown away. We were just like, we got to do this again. Like, let's get home. Let's get cracking. And we immediately went home and cut 10 minutes out of that movie. And now its running time was 72 minutes.
So it was like a long short film, essentially.
It was like a long short film. But we learned a ton. And we came back with Night of the Dog, which was a $5 million film that we collaborated with 4 of our friends with. And we just said, hey, 4 of our very talented friends who, again, had never made anything. And we're all working at ArcLight.
But they had like graduated from film school, you know, so one of them went to USC.
Yeah.
One of them had gone to film high school.
One of them went to BU film school. So like we had a bunch of like film people. And they were like, how'd you guys make this damn movie? Like, I can't believe you made a movie for $1,500. We want to do it too. So we were all just.
But it's funny because Ian and I didn't go to film school. Like we were going to go to film school.
Idiots who did not go.
We went to we came to LA and we were like, okay, well we got to go to film school if we want to be filmmakers. And Ian and
that was going to be one of my questions. So what did you guys go to college for? Because you keep saying, you know, well we made this was going to be a $5 million movie. Like, how did you know that? Like, how did you budget it, and like how did you figure all that out?
So to go forward, we've jumped back in time. So 2002, we move out. We start running around with these scripts. We don't have anything worth a damn.
But
yet.
Ian went to school for. Ian's an amazing wrestler. So like he's like at one point, what, top 16 more?
I was top 16 in Division I NCAAs, but I was third in the nation in Greco-Roman and placed multiple times with Greco and freestyle. In the sort of 23-year-olds and under, you know, through high school and college. I played multiple times.
The man's a beast. But while he was wrestling his way through college at Cal State Bakersfield, he fell in love with writing and literature and plays and all this stuff. And then I was, taking my time getting through junior college, trying to become a professional paintball player. And then when that career path didn't seem like it was going to go anywhere, I figured maybe I should actually like work on something, you know, a little more steady. So I decided to be an artist. And
you fucked that up.
So I went to school for drawing and painting at Kansas City Art Institute, where I promptly only lasted a year there. And Ian called me. He was in Bakersfield. I was in Kansas City, and
I was an English major and a theater minor.
Yeah,
so I graduate. I was just finishing school. As Ash was just like, I think I'm done with art school. I'm not really having a good time. I don't think this is where I should be.
So I'm over there. I'm not really having a great time. But we had always loved movies. We'd grown up watching movies together, rented out our local video stores. And Ian calls me one night, or the next day, he calls me and he goes, hey man, you know, I just watched these 2 movies last night and they just blew me away. And I was like, really? Because I watched 2 movies last night and they blew me away.
Now realize he's in Kansas City at school and I'm in Bakersfield, California at school.
And we're up all night. Like, you know, I'm 2 hours difference or whatever it is. So I'm watching them at like 4 in the morning and Ian's watching them at like 1 in the morning.
Unbeknownst to each other, we watch the same damn movies and have the same paradigm shift. It's the most bizarre thing because they're not movies that anybody else that we've heard anybody else reference as like movies that changed their life, you know, and they really were 2 movies that changed our life and changed our perspective on what we could do and how movies were made and what we thought we could do. And it was Barfly with Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway. And it was The Real Blonde with Matthew Modine and Elizabeth Berkley.
Yep.
Yep.
And for us, like, look, we grew up on like Dirty Harry movies and Predator and then like, you know, Indiana Jones. Like those are the movies.
You can't see the cracks and the seams in those movies. You know what I mean? You're just sucked in and you're just like, woo. Whereas these other movies were these two very intimate in very different ways, but two very intimate, character-driven films.
Independent. Yeah.
Independent. Barfly has like 3 locations and like 2 real stars, and that's kind of it. And there's people peppered in around them, but it's really 2 actors and 3 or 4 settings. It's not a lot, and you're completely sucked into that movie.
Yeah.
And Matthew Modine movie, The Real Blonde, there was just something about it that was really fun and really funny. Yet it also had a whole like a lot of layers of like depth and had a point and a lot of themes I could latch onto.
And it was about the business. And Matthew,
It was about the business, but we didn't know anything about it.
And Matthew Modine's just being a horse's ass because he's an actor that can't get a job. It's pretty funny.
It's a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. They both are.
But when we watched those 2 movies, I was like, shit, man, I'm coming home this summer. Like, let's try it. Like, we love movies. Maybe we should start like trying to make one. Like, maybe we'll write a screenplay. Our dad, we're blessed and cursed. Our dad was a professional photographer. Like for 20 years, and he would force us to work in his color labs and like take pictures and like do all this stuff. So like, we unwillingly had all these skills like embedded in our brains, so we kind of knew how to do that. So anyways, we came back and we wrote some really bad scripts that summer, and we made some really bad short films, and we ran around and woke all of our friends up at like 2 a.m. because we were so excited about these like short films that we were making in the backyard.
And they were just really stupid. It was like me with a shotgun running around our parents' property. Like, and then we got one of my mom's chihuahuas that was severely obese.
I don't know.
And we tied this little string around its neck and we had it run around the yard and we shot really close on it.
We were not joking.
And then it was running around with just a loose string on it. And then I got a rope and Esh pulled me around and then we cut it together and it looked like the chihuahua was like Godzilla pulling me around. It was really funny. And we were just like, I can't believe that worked. Like, that's crazy. We were just trying stuff. We're just goofing around. And so we were literally waking our friends up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like just to show them like, 30 seconds of footage of me being dragged around by a giant chihuahua because we thought it was hilarious. It was cool to see people laugh at those little stupid shorts. It was cool to see that some of those little tricks are actually working, and totally inspired us when we did move to LA to be like, okay, well, I think the problem here is that, no one's seen our stuff up on its feet. That's the problem. That's why no one's reacting to these scripts.
We just got to go make it.
Let alone that we'd never really had anybody look at the scripts. It was like our neighbor was a second AD on like some television show
in LA.
And they would read it and give us notes, very thoughtful notes. But it wasn't like that person was, that person was going to be able to get us in the biz. You know what I mean? They'd let us come in as PAs and stuff on some of those TV shows once in a while, which were a hoot all to their own and an experience all their own. But, she wasn't going to be able to do anything with the script. She was just, thoughtful and, gave us great notes. And then we would try to work on it. But
and literally, like, Ian and I spent a year writing and figuring out what we're going to do in Bakersfield. And then we just moved down. We just literally we're going to Hollywood. We told our parents, we're going to go to Hollywood and make movies. They're like, well, good luck with that.
We drove down the 101, and as soon as we saw the signs that said Hollywood, the next 2 X's or whatever, we took one of them. We drove around in circles in the neighborhoods right off Hollywood Boulevard, right near Hollywood and Highland, which is a lot to take in.
And then we saw it. We were pulled onto Yucca, and there was a for rent sign. And we're like, okay, well, let's just see if they'll rent us an apartment.
And they did. They rented us an apartment, and we were in LA. And then I got a job at Tony Roma's Place for Ribs. Ash got a job at the ArcLight Cinemas. It had only been open like 3 months, and it was really cool. And he was like, well, we can watch some free movies at least. Let me jump in here. So he gets a job there. I get a job at Tony Roma's. And then you quickly realize that everybody, that works all those jobs and is anywhere in town is a aspiring actor, director, and writer, or all 3. And you're just like, holy shit, like everybody's doing this.
Yeah, it was interesting to go from like obviously no one doing it in where we were from to like literally everybody doing it in LA.
And you realize how quickly how freaking competitive it is. And we were like, oh my God, Like, this is just one block and 2 places we work. Like, look at all these places around here. Everybody's doing this. Oh my God, this is crazy. So we after writing scripts and not getting anybody to look at them and not knowing what to do with them, we just decided maybe we need to make a movie. So that's when we got $1,500 together and went and shot one.
Yeah.
And Esh got in a wreck.
That's right. I drive an old beloved '84 Volkswagen Vanagon, and it got rear-ended. And rather than fixing the car, well, I fixed the car myself with a hammer. And took the insurance payout, and we bought the DVX 100 camera, and we just started shooting stuff guerrilla style on the streets of LA.
And that's how we shot Squirrel Trap. Is we went back home and shot that with some actors that we were working with at the time at the restaurant and the theater. We shot for 7 days, came back, had like a pickup day in LA at some building, and so we shot that in like 8 days, I guess, and we put it together, got into that festival, learned to edit on Eshom's laptop.
That's right. So back in the day, they had these manuals that were like 500 pages long, and so I
read that.
I read the entire manual and then taught Ian how to do it in 20 minutes.
It really was. It really was that ridiculous. It took him like 2 or 3 weeks to get through the book of like constantly reading and constantly writing shit down in shortcuts. F301 is the shortcut to move the whatever to this. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he gets in there and shows me how to use it. Within 20 minutes, I was fucking humming. I was just like, dude, thank you for reading that. Thank you for taking the bullet.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. I got to stop you. So going back to the you guys watching the same movies at the same time together, being in different states. How close together are you in age? And like, has that stuff happened before, like growing up, or have you ever noticed stuff like that before?
I mean, we're a year and a half apart.
I would say no, nothing that dramatic,
nothing that crazy. But I will say the one thing we did, like Esh was saying, we rented out the local, video store. We lived in a town at that time. It was about 3,500 people, and there was a intersection. That was the center of town, just literally an intersection. Had a gas station, had a grocery store, it had
pizza factory,
taco place, pizza factory, and like a video store. So we rented that sucker out. We'd walk down there. It was about a mile and a half. Walk it, go get some donuts, get the movies, walk back home. That was literally after our chores, which took about 8 hours a day. We would spend all night watching these movies and feasting on donuts and loving life.
Oh man,
that was like what we would do on the weekends if we didn't have wrestling or soccer. Or, Ash wasn't skating somewhere or something. But yeah, we would. But what it did was, we lived out in the middle of nowhere. It was on a 10-acre horse ranch. All our friends were half an hour into town. We couldn't drive. So we just watched movies and like synthesized our taste.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us.
And we were so far away from any of our friends that it was like, we either got along or we'd be really lonely.
Thankfully we got along.
Yeah.
We learned to find, some commonality in the movies. But yeah, we would wage these G.I. Joe wars that would take 3 days to come to fruition, literally like 2 or 3 hours a day, 3 days of us battling out every little sequence with hundreds of G.I. Joes and vehicles lined up. One would take one side, one would take the other.
Yeah.
We'd set them up. And then every scenario, every battle every person dying had a scenario, how that person died. So there's just those little things that you realize when you're putting a movie together, they're not much different. You know what I mean? You're like sitting there going, okay, I've got 8 characters. I got to kill 6
Snake Eyes is going to come off
this
the
guy.
mountain.
Yeah, it feels really similar. It's just hopefully we're doing it better than we were when we were 11.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of watching Squirrel Trap. Thank you guys for sending that to me. And
man,
you soldier, man, soldier.
You deep.
It's as $1,500. You couldn't do much, but for what's there, like you could definitely tell that there was something there, like that this was going to turn into something. Like the writing was great. I laughed at probably all those same places that you were talking about, the other people laughing at, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. I just watched it today.
Did you get to the end of it and say, well, they made a movie?
No, I thought, I could see like, because I watched all your other stuff prior to that. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
I saw like what you guys, I guess, were, envisioning,
It's interesting, man, to go back. I haven't watched that in a long time. Yeah. It'd be interesting to go back and watch it again.
From what I do remember, Tom Fagetti did a phenomenal job as the fuck up. Where he was, I still thought he was pretty.
That might be the highlight of it.
He's fucking funny. That guy. We still work with that guy. He's in everything. He's in everything we do.
He's in everything. Yeah, he's in. Let's talk about Lost on Purpose, because that was the next. That was the. I guess after Fatman, I looked you guys up, and that was the first one that I went back
Oh,
and
wow.
watched. Then Lost on Purpose.
Interesting.
Wow.
What a
What a
juxtaposition that was. Yeah, that's interesting.
So that was, as I was saying previously, like that was what happened. We did Squirrel Trap, we did Night of the Dog, and then we won a bunch of film festivals with Night of the Dog, which was really encouraging. We got representation, and then we had Fatman as a script to like show people, like, hey, here's what we would do if we did something bigger. And that's where I'm saying we started getting meetings around town, and we had representation sending us out, and they're like, hey, yeah, they got these crazy brothers. They got these 2 no budget films they did. You know, it's crazy. They made these films, and they won a couple film festivals with them. Like, check out this script they just did. And we would get in there and they're like, what crazy assholes wrote this script? Because this is kind of nuts. Like, you realize you're never going to get to make this. And we're just like, God, we got to get to make this. Like, this is what it's about, making crazy, fun stuff.
So we really realized that we needed to step it up. You know, Night of the Dog, while entertaining, the production value wasn't great, and no one really wants to watch the 6 of us, the guys that, you know, gals are all in it. We just needed some actors. So Ian, so we got representation, and the first thing they told us after making Night of the Dog was like, hey, stop making these shitty little films. The next movie you guys make is going to be for millions of dollars. And we're like, well, that sounds great. You know, like, fantastic. We'll sign up for that ticket. Cut to 6 years later, we still hadn't made a movie.
We were immensely frustrated because we made 2 pretty quick. You know what I mean? When we decided to start making things, we made 2, bam, bam, bam. We're at festivals. We're feeling like filmmakers. We may have not been making any money, but we were creatively fulfilled. You know what I mean? We're out there doing it. And it felt like, hey, we just make a couple more of these or another one of these. Like, I think we might have something, you know?
Yeah. And we were making short films along the way and doing all that. But we just got to that point in 10 or 11. And we're like, man, we got to make something.
In 2010, 2011,
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about.
Fortunately, Ian became a swimming instructor. So he's teaching kids to swim all around LA.
2 and 3 year olds.
And he had saved up like $60,000.
Over the course of that 5 or 6 years, I saved $60,000 to make a movie with. This was
all
like,
in singles under his bed.
Can't wait to buy that Bentley. It was like, I can't wait to make a shitty independent film for less than anybody's ever made one before, but at least I'll have 60 grand to put in a movie. We were very focused. You know what I mean? We were like, okay, we got to make a movie.
I do think that most people would like go buy a BMW instead of make a movie.
We were stupid enough to make a movie. We did it.
So Ian goes, hey, dude, I got this money, and we wrote Lost on Purpose. Like, let's write something for our hometown that we.
This was the $200,000 script everyone was saying we needed, and we went back to like, write what you know, write where you're from, put the people you know in there. We want to feel you. We want to feel where you're from. So we wrote a dairy epic, which nobody's looking for. Not one person on the planet is looking for a dairy epic.
But it was, you know, it was about 5 ranch hands that worked on a dairy farm in Central California. And the dairy owner was a little bit reminiscent of our mom and some other people that we knew. So
we're big fans of like HUD and Last Picture Show. And it very much was like our tribute to sort of that era of filmmaking that we loved a lot. Five Easy Pieces. I mean, that's sort of late 60s, early 70s, you know, very character driven films were high on our list. Now that after about 2002, when we really started diving into independent film and film from the 60s and 70s, those were high on our list of like, wow, how did they make this? How are these so damn good? You know?
Yeah. So we venture out there. We're calling in every favor. I remember we round up people from Tony Roma's, ArcLight. We're casting all of our friends. We ended up getting Steven Rogers to come on as a producer.
At that point, he'd written like Hope Floats and P.S. I Love You, but now he's infamous for I, Tonya, which was fantastic.
But he was a writer friend that we knew, and he put $10,000. And I remember we were like, hey, you know, he was so generous. He was like, hey, I'm over at this agency. Look through there and see if you like any actors for your movie that you're doing. So we're like, oh, Jane Kaczmarek would be amazing. Like, why don't we get her?
We love her. Would she work with us?
To play Miss Liz on the dairy farm. And I remember he's like, okay, cool. So he sends it to her, and she goes, hey, great, let's have dinner. So we go out to have dinner with her, and we're sitting there, you know. Anyway, long story short, like she just wanted to see to make sure we were mentally stable, and that we weren't going to like invite her out to the Central Valley and be on a batshit crazy production. But she was down. She was like totally down.
She's like, I love this. This sounds like a blast. I love the script. I'm totally into this. It sounds like fun. And we had, at that point, we actually had a few of the other cast in place before we went to Jane. We had James Lafferty, who was at the same management company as us. And we'd met James not because he was a famous actor, but because he had written a couple scripts that our manager was like, hey, you should read these scripts that James wrote. We read them. We're like, holy shit, he's a really good writer. And then he read a couple of our scripts. He came into town, and we all went to sushi, and we just sat down for like 2 hours and just discussing the 2 scripts that each of us had read. So we read 2 of his, he read 2 of ours, and we were just like jazzed with each other creatively.
That's right.
At the end of that meeting, Esh and I were like, what? And Lost on Purpose was not one of those scripts. I think it was Fatman and this other script that we'd given him. Yeah. And he liked them and was pumped about it and was like, God, I'd love to work with you guys. And we're like, dude, we'd love to work with you at the end of it. We walk away, and then we're like, we were almost done with Lost on Purpose as a script. And we were just like, wouldn't he make a great this character or this character? And we were like, yeah, oh my God, either one of those. So we sent him the script and we said, which one do you want to do? First of all, would you work with us? Second of all, which one would you want? Either one of them is yours if you want it, you know? And then he read it and was like, I want to play this guy. And we're like, dude, amazing. So then he was on, and then we went and sort of collected 2 or 3 other people for like Aaron Hill from Greek. We started to sort of collect these people that were going to be great for these roles. Yeah. And then we went out to Jane, and Jane said yes. And then our financing kind of came in, and it was independent financing, all like the bigger pieces. Cause we had like someone saying, hey, I'll put in 25 grand. If you can get somebody I just can recognize.
So we got C. Thomas Howell.
Then we got C. Thomas Howell.
Jeremy Ratchford. We got a bunch of really cool like people we were excited to work with.
Like Dale Dickey, yeah. Octavia said she'd do a little role for us, and it was right before she was nominated for an Oscar. She was like, yeah, I'll do something for y'all. Let's do something. We were friends with her.
I remember we were like, she's like, what do you want me to play? We're like, oh, we got a nurse. She's like, well, I've only played that 4 times.
Yeah, this is like the nurse I played. Thanks, guys. We're like, sorry. But she came in and crushed it. All these people just came in and crushed it for us. And we had a wonderful ensemble, and we got our $200,000 basically.
Well,
we had $175,000. We had $175,000.
I remember at like day 25 of the shoot, Ian, out of 30 something days, Ian goes to me and he goes, it's not going to be today. It won't be tomorrow, but we're going to run out of money before we finish shooting the movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, we could probably get by on these credit cards.
We could probably limp through it on credit cards. We could probably get to the end of shooting them. Probably.
But the plane was going to crash into the mountain. And I was like, oh my God, like we got to get to the end of this somehow. And miraculously, the whole town of Visalia like came together.
There's 2 or 3 people that put money together and put our last $25,000 together and let us finish the film, to be honest.
And it came on as producers and got it done with us. It was pretty amazing, pretty miraculous.
So we finished Lost on Purpose. We went out and won a ton of like B+, A- film festivals. Like we won an award at Palm Beach, Real Heart in Canada. Like we won awards. I think we won probably about 20 awards on festivals of that level in Northern America. And then we were like, okay, that was amazing, but we're not getting the call from Miramax yet. You know what I mean? Like no one's like blown away by we didn't get into a film market like South by or something.
And we didn't sell the film.
And we didn't sell it. So we were like, and then we had one offer. It was for $50,000. And we were like, oh Jesus. But this is like when everything, the bottom fell out, $200,000 films were being made. And everyone was just getting, when a distributor would pick them up back in like 2013, 2014, they were paying like $50,000 up front. And if you make money, you make money, which everyone says, hey, we never made any money. So that's all you get is the $50,000. And we were like, we can't do that because we actually have people's money.
And we actually learned a lot about self-distributing.
We did.
Although we didn't make a ton of money, we learned a ton.
Yeah. And so from the distribution of like, we did self-distribution. We raised all the money ourselves. We budgeted ourselves, hired our own 30-man team, went out and made those movies. From understanding the $1,500, the $5,000, and the $200,000 film, we were really able to sort of do the budgets.
And we almost felt like, well, it's like, I don't care what we have, we can make a movie with it.
Yeah. And we were just like, we knew what these were, and the market was plummeting, and we were like, okay, we got to find our way out of this. And it was make more films was the answer. And so after we made that film,
which takes us to Waffle Street.
Yeah, it ran.
Yeah, well, a couple things. I got to stop you. A couple things about Lost on Purpose.
I'm just gonna work on pauses for you guys.
Sorry, we just go. Sorry.
No, that makes our job a lot easier, but I do have a lot of stuff. So Lost on Purpose. So after now listening to you guys talk, that it's sort of like based on your life, like or at least like a little bit, right? Because it's
yeah, for sure. But yeah, those characters are very much
like,
us.
Like we definitely wrote in autobiographical incidences from our life.
Our parents aren't divorced. You know, I didn't have a traumatic experience in wrestling. You know, I finished strong and feel great, but
we did not ever
work drama.
Yeah, we never did work on a dairy farm, but they were all around us everywhere. Yeah. You know,
sure.
We know horses and team roping. We teamed up with our dad, so there's like a team roping montage in there, which is very much what we used to do with our dad all the way through high school.
I do love Volkswagens, and we built that blue Volkswagen for the movie.
Ash built all the cars himself, which was amazing. It was one of the things he was very excited to do. So he left for home a couple months early and built all these things in our parents' front yard, which was fun.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great movie. I like it a lot, man. Everything that you guys have done is really good.
I mean, with Lost,
Thank
it's
you.
interesting, man. Like everybody makes the "I got to get out of this town" movie, right? Like, oh, this town, yeah, my future later. And Ian and I didn't want to make that, man. We wanted to make like the love letter to our hometown
because we miss it. It's been 20 years since we've been there, and even, especially at that point, we'd been out of Visalia for like a decade. Visalia would like synonymous in my mind, but we'd been out of our hometown for like a decade, and it was reminiscent, man. We were very nostalgic for it, and yeah, like even like American Graffiti, we love that movie, but it also feels like I gotta get out of this shitty little town, and we didn't want to be like. It's not a shitty little town. It's where we grew up. It made us who we are. We love that town. We love the people in that town. We wanted to make something to say, hey, thank you. We grew up here, and we're not fucked up.
Yeah.
Maybe we are. But
Arguably.
we went out
Debatable.
and tried to take our swing at the world. And it is a lot of it is how we grew up with those blue collar people, that raised us. So.
Yeah.
It shows a side of the country that a lot of people don't get to see, I think,
especially California. You don't think that exists in California, but it feels very much like Oklahoma in Central California. It's all ranchers and dairy farmers and horse ranchers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So after the festival circuit with Lost on Purpose is when Waffle Street came to us, and it came to us in a unique way in that someone had seen our movie and they were just like, they made it for how much? Because when we got Lost on Purpose, the first thing they told us was like, hey, what you need to do is like, we go, how much can you make this for? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you need to get it budgeted. So we went and we took it to a Los Angeles official line producer, and he looked at it, he broke down the script, and he came back with a $5 million price tag on Lost on Purpose.
The lowest we ever got it was some guy was like, I don't know how you can do this, but you could try to get it for about 2-point-something million. And we're like, we're not going to get $2 million. You're crazy. Like we were like, how the hell are we going to get $200,000 between all these people we know? And thankfully we were able to scrape that together. But yeah, we were like, this is ridiculous. Like we made a movie for $1,500 for $200,000. I think we could pull this off.
Yeah, we're able to launch a space shuttle to the moon.
Yeah, we're like
let's go.
$200,000. Like, come on, that's a lot of money.
After you make Fatman, like Fatman's, it's kind of like has a pretty big cult following now, I think. So like, is there any way that you can go back and like, has there been like an uptick in purchases for your older movies? Like, is there any way to find that out?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I mean, I can definitely say.
I know they keep re-upping Small Town Crime.
Yeah, that one is getting passed around all over the place. Like I think it's on Max right now, HBO Max or Max, whatever it is now.
And then they own. It seems like they own Waffle Street forever. I don't know if that'll
there was
break out of the silo.
Let's just say the deal wasn't perfect. It was old school, that deal, which was long term.
But we just got asked about some of our catalog titles the other day, actually. So that could be something, we could go out and like get Lost on Purpose out to the world in a little more substantial way. That would be
really fun because that one's really close to our hearts. It was like the first real movie we made, you know what I mean? Where we had a crew and we were depending on a lot of other people. It wasn't just like us and our dad in the backyard,
Yeah.
Right. Waffle House. So that you guys this is based on a true story. This isn't something that you guys wrote, right? So how does this come about then?
So we ended up co-writing the strip with Autumn McAlpin, but it's obviously based on a memoir by James Adams, and it was about his time working in a Waffle House.
After the financial crisis in 2008, he got sacked because he was the one handling the house loans. So they were just like, it's your fault, buddy. You're fired. Don't worry, everybody. We got him. It was that kind of BS. Like his company was like, we got the guy out. Don't worry. He fucked it all up.
Blame it on the guy who just followed order.
Yeah, exactly. Blame it on the guy who was following suit, So he got sacked and they went to work in a Waffle House to sort of figure out his soul and what he was going to do in his life. And this surly line cook who played by Danny Glover,
deals him some life lessons of just real hard facts of like,
what his overprivileged ass it thinks life is and what it really is, and that's one of the things we loved about it is just this guy just, turning Pinocchio into a real boy is what it kind of felt like. You know, it was a Pinocchio story in our mind.
That's what we kept going. And Ian and I had worked in restaurants, so we had some PTSD from that. So we're like, oh wow, this will be good to get in there and exercise some of these demons.
Yeah, because it's anecdotes in the restaurant where, you know, we thought we had some bad ones, but boy, he had some really bad ones. So we were excited to tell that story because it was close to our heart in a couple ways, right? You know, financial crisis stuff, of course, everyone was embroiled in that. But then the restaurant business, we were looking to dip our toe in that for sure.
And so Autumn came to us after seeing our movie in a film festival, and the film festival director recommending that she talk to us. And Autumn's a producer that had written the draft of Waffle Street. It had bounced around LA for like 20, like, I don't know. It bounced around for a couple years, but it was like a $20 million movie. And so no one could make it. It was way too high budgeted.
And that's what she was telling us. She was just like, I've continued to rewrite this movie upon executives talking about it and developing it and wanting to make it. And it's turned into a $20 million rom-com. It's not where it really started. She's like, that's not what the book is like, but that's kind of what that's what it's turned into. She's like, and I'm getting really tired after these last couple of years of just hearing, we're going to keep developing it. I'm just going to make it. I've raised $500,000 and I want to make it. Like, you guys made this for $200,000. How the hell did you do that? Can you do this one for $500,000? So we were like, let us read the script, let us read the book, and try to come up with something of what we would do with it. So we did. We went and pitched her and her producing partners, and they were like, we like this. Will you guys write it? We don't have enough money to pay you anything, or if we did pay you something, it'd be little to nothing. And we were like, okay, look, don't pay us. Let's put it all on the screen. We were like, but you have to promise if we're going to write it, we're going to make it. And they shook our hands. They said, yep, we're going to make it. And so literally after we wrote the script, I think it was within 3 months, you know, we were in Utah casting and shooting. Like, it
happened fast.
It was unbelievable. It was awesome.
It's our slimmest shooting day movie.
Yeah.
We didn't get a ton of, we got 20 days or something.
19 and a half.
There you go. 19
and a half.
Which was fast for us. Ian and I usually like around 30 plus. But yeah, that one was fast, but unfortunately, you know, the story was contained. Yeah, we got it done. And it was interesting, man. It landed on Netflix at a time where they had a huge subscriber base, but like virtually no content.
Not a lot of new stuff coming in.
And so we lucked out in this perfect storm where Waffle Street ended up on the front page of Netflix
for months.
For like, it felt like months.
Months.
And it ended up getting like 250,000 user reviews, which, you know, like
just reviews, not views, but reviews.
Yeah. Wow.
250,000.
It was insane, but only on that platform. It just like blew up.
And everybody we talked to were like, they're like, oh, you guys are filmmakers? You guys make anything I've seen? We're like, I don't know. We got this Waffle Street. Well, I've seen Waffle Street. We're like, holy shit, have you?
Because it was like, it was like at a time when like the whole entire world had Netflix and no one had anything to watch on it. So it's like, it kind of worked out miraculous for us. And then
one of the fun stories about Waffle Street is that we had reps and we were like,
so we had like managers and agents and all this stuff.
And we had written these crime thrillers, like Small Town Crime and Fatman, that they were trying to shop around for us. And we just weren't getting any traction, which is why we went and made Lost on Purpose. Lost on Purpose runs its course. And they were like, you know, proud of the film, proud of us for that film. But it wasn't anything like the crime thrillers like Small Town Crime and Fatman. Obviously, you know, now that you've seen them and we made them, there was no direct correlation. So we were still walking into meetings and people saying, what's the tone? You couldn't say, it's just like Lost on Purpose, you know, because it's a drama about dairy farms. So no one's like, yeah, great.
We got it.
We got this one. So they were still like question marks above their heads as when we were talking to them about the film. And mainly, you know, we had this big exec at Warner Brothers who we're still friends, really good friends with, just tell us like, hey guys, you're never going to get to make this until you make something that's going to correlate to it. And we're like, okay, now we understand. So we get this opportunity to make Waffle Street and we tell our reps.
And look, like, you got to look at it our way. Like, we had never not made a movie on our own dime before. Like, you know, and like here was a chance that not only were we going to make, someone else was going to pay for the movie, but we were actually going to get like a little check out of it. Like we actually were, you know, it wasn't going to pay the rent.
It was a couple $1,000s a piece, but you're actually getting a couple $1,000s a piece instead of spending $60,000 of everything saved in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, that's fucking
And then ridiculous. Like we found an access point into the movie that we were excited about. So we're like, this is like great. Like we get to make a movie and like, we actually get paid and we're excited about making it. Like, why wouldn't we make it just regardless of the genre?
So we're pitching our reps. We're like, hey, these guys are going to make this thing. I think we're going to write it for free and they're going to help us make it. They're like, you're what? We're like, oh, we got this deal, handshake deal. They're like, you guys are idiots. And we're like, okay, well, look, no one else has beaten down the door for us to do anything. Like, and this is an opportunity for us to try to make something that we're not paying for. And like, we have a way in. We have a way in that we're actually really excited about the film. And they're like, what does it have to do with the crime thrillers? We're like, I don't know, but like, look, for us, we want to make. We need to keep making movies. And for some reason, like, I feel like they have people with money behind them. They have access to money. Like, that's what we need. We need access to money. So like, we're gonna make this in hopes that like the next movie, maybe they'll be like, what do you want to make next?
There was also another motivation in that after we finished Lost on Purpose, we showed it to our dad and he watched it and he was like, okay, I like it. Now, can you use any other word than fuck?
There's a bit of profanity in it.
Yeah. And it was 5, young guys on a dairy. So of course they're going to be
even the dairy owner is pretty crap.
Yeah, profane.
Miss Liz is dishing it out.
Yeah, that's right. It's profane. He's right. So when we went into Waffle Street, we're like, oh, wow, like this is a chance we could make a movie that Dad would be proud of, like a clean routine movie. So that was another motivating factor.
We decided we're going to go make it. Our reps are like, okay, well, send us the 10% of the $2,500 you're making. So we sent them $250. And then 2 weeks later, they fucking dropped us.
Yeah, we made the movie and then they fired us. They took $250.
They took $250 and then fired us. And we were just like, fuck, dude, are you kidding? Like, this is a joke, right? So we really needed that $250. The agency did not. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Especially since they were like, oh, get that $250 and we're going to fire these assholes.
What the fuck?
It was crazy. So
absolute madness.
They drop us. We have no reps. We make Waffle Street. It sells to Mar Vista, I think, is the ones who picked it up. And then they turn to us afterward and they're like, what do you guys want to do next?
Yeah, that went great.
That went great. We're like, oh, hey, we've got these crime thrillers. We throw them the crime thrillers. They really like small town crime.
And we're like, but they're nothing like Waffle Street. Right.
And
we're like, just understand that if there's Waffle Street over here, we're diametrically opposed over here.
Right.
Like, that doesn't matter. Give it to us. We like you guys. Let's just see what's in the can here. So they open it up. They read it. They like it. They come back to us and they're like, okay, look, we think we could get $2 million for this. We're like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, no, we could get $2 million to make this, but you need to get.
Wait, hold on. So now we're just small town crime.
Sorry,
Yeah, all right. Let's pause for a second. I have 2 questions. 2 questions about Waffle Street. What was it like working with Danny Glover?
Amazing. He was amazing.
Fan-freaking-tastic. And everyone warned us. They're like, you got to be careful. Danny's coming. Oh, he's going to get you. And we're like, what are you talking about? It's Danny Glover. We love Danny Glover. Freaking.
So we get in there and we quickly realize in the first day that like all Danny wants to make Danny happy. Of course, a great movie. Of course, a great experience. But the main thing he's worried about is just making sure he gets enough takes to where he's happy. You know what I mean? And I think he'd been on a couple independent films before that. One of them with our first AD, which is why he was like trying to freak us out, is that he had an experience where they literally had to do 2 takes and move on with Danny at times,
or like one
and move on. And where we went to Danny, we said, "Hey man, we're never going to leave." We figured out what was going on. We went to him and we just said, not that we were having a bad experience, but why everyone was freaking out. And we just went to him and to preemptively nix this bullshit right.
Yeah, and he was like, I just want to make sure I get enough time.
And we're like, oh. I get it. So we just said, Danny, we're never going to leave a take until you feel good. And look, there's a lot of people that are really insecure and would take 600 takes if they could. But that was not Danny Glover. Danny Glover was like, you do 2 or 3 and we're like, or 4 or whatever. And you're like, hey, we're happy. Danny, do you want one more? And he'll be like, yeah, give me one more, baby. Give me one more.
Yeah, he always called everyone baby.
He'll nail one more and then he'll be like, all right, I feel good, boys. Let's move on. We're like, all right, great, awesome. And we move on. And dude, it was wonderful. We had this lunch.
Which, by the way, Danny called everyone baby, and now I do it.
Yeah,
it's like I'm in Swingers or something.
We had at lunch. Danny would regale everybody with how he was almost cast in the first Predator, and like, dude, it was fucking awesome.
Dude, he was so during awesome. Lunch in a 40-minute lunch. He took us through every step of his career. It was insane. It was like,
that's awesome.
We're gonna go way back.
And like, of course, he does Predator 2, but it was amazing that he was, in high contention for Predator 1 and turned it down. And he was just like, and then he said after he turned it down and watched the Arnold movie, he was like, shit, I want to fucking do that. Like, I really like that movie. And like, what the fuck? What was I thinking? Why did I turn that down? Or whatever his rep story. I can't remember what the story was exactly, but he turned it down. And then the second one comes up and he's like, I'm in, let's go.
Dude, even like he was like theater and all of his plays he was doing and stuff. It's pretty interesting.
It was a like to listen to where he came from, just local theater, building himself up to like road traveling theater.
Yeah.
And then segueing out of that into movies, and then talking about, I can't remember what casting exec it was at Warner Brothers, but someone like went to the hilt for him, and he tells this great story where he was like, she comes up to me and she's like, Danny, I put you up for Lethal Weapon. He's like, all right, that's cool, baby. Yeah, okay. Lethal Weapon sounds cool. He reads it, he likes it. And she's like, and then she actually went to those meetings and like went to the hilt for me. He's like, and then I get the call and they're like, Danny, we're considering you for it. And he's like, she tells me this story where she's like in the meeting and they're like, she's like, what do you think about Danny Glover for Murtaugh? And they're like,
he's black,
you know,
right?
He's black, right? And she's all, and he's on. She was like, yeah. So he's like, so then they start thinking about it, and somehow everybody gets fucking down with me doing this role. He's like, I come in and do the read throughs, and they're like, oh shit, okay, this guy's gonna kill this.
Brilliant.
This guy's gonna fucking kill this.
Yeah, he's so good, man. I remember like that bench scene in Waffle Street,
dude. That was the craziest thing.
Was fucking insane.
It was like a page of dialogue, regardless of what's on the screen. I think it's like half a page of dialogue on the screen, but we had a page of dialogue. And it was the first scene Danny's shooting, and everyone's like, "Hey, Danny's whatever, 70 some odd years old. Like,
you might need a few takes.
Strapping him down with a page of dialogue on the first day is pretty fucked up, guys. Like, why don't we ease him in with? We're like, dude, our schedule's screwed. We have to do this." And so they're like, "All right, Danny's coming in," and like, dude, he comes in. The first take is like butter. Like, he just kills this fucking scene.
He did like a full page fucking scene without breaks, nose to tail, not even like.
And we were like 2 takes, and we're like, Danny, we're good.
Yeah, we did 2 on his side. We're like, moving on.
I think he was. Yeah, he fucking killed it. And that's the last scene of the movie. The one where he's sitting there with James.
Yeah.
He just slayed that, man.
And like so much was going wrong. Like the prop watch wasn't there.
Yeah.
It decided to be like AYSO soccer day in the background.
There's like 50 little soccer players running around in the background when they're supposed to be having this so we're shooting angles to like ditch 8 games that are going on and kids screaming.
And we're like, hey, we got that park all to ourselves. Like, yeah, we got it.
That was hilarious. When we're like, we got the park, right? They're all, yeah, don't worry. We got everything shut down. No one's coming in there. It's just going to be us and Danny and James. We're like, okay, great. We show there's like 50 fucking soccer teams. It's going batshit crazy. We're like, what happened? How
kids are kicking goals right next to us.
How are we supposed to shoot with this? We figured it out. But yeah.
One last thing about Waffle Street. I've seen a lot of horrible shit in movies. I'm a big horrible. I love horror movies. I've seen a lot of nasty stuff. I had to fucking turn my head during that bathroom scene.
That's hilarious.
It's so great because there were conversations.
That was a controversial scene.
People were trying to get us to cut that out, and we were just like, "You're fucking crazy.
And
you can't cut the most controversial moment out of the movie. Like that's what the movie is. It's that you need that moment to push this guy."
I'm sorry. It just Ian and I get a little kick out of that. I remember we were at a screening. A lot of people were there, like 600 people. And the producers were like, "Hey, if we're gonna sell the movie, like you've got to get rid of that scene." And we were like, well, why don't we just watch it with this audience and see if you want to cut it after that? Because we'd already done a bunch of test screenings. Like we knew how it went down.
It was like everyone's having a good time. And when that scene comes on, everyone goes, oh, whoa, oh my God, whoa. The whole theater's
it was riotous. And like people are like, oh my God. And they kept looking back, like trying to like,
and everyone's laughing. And like, you realize it's possibly the grossest, funniest part of the movie.
And like the producers were like, no,
okay,
you're right.
You were right. You were right. It's in.
Because it is, man. Like you really want those. We are always searching for those moments where it's ultimate audience participation. We're just going to kind of like smack you across the face and make sure you're awake.
Like you don't expect that scene in that movie.
Yeah. I actually have quit a job. My first job, I was a busboy at Arner's restaurant in Pennsylvania, and someone had thrown up in the bathroom and they wanted me to clean it up. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Cause I would have just thrown up all over the bathroom as well.
So I remember James Lafferty, who's obviously doing the scene. We go, hey dude, you want to see the bathroom? He goes, no, I don't want to see it.
I just want to be surprised.
I want to just react to it true as it is.
And we were like, that's actually a fucking really great idea.
And so we didn't tell him what was in it. We just sort of let it present itself when he walked in there.
And Lauren, the production designer, did such a phenomenal job.
It was so
foul. We went in there and we were just like, oh my God. Like we couldn't even stay in the same room with that turd. It was so bad.
But it was, and obviously everything in there is like food products, but man, it looked really
like brownie with chunks of corn in it, but it looked bad, dude.
Did she add any smell to it?
No, there wasn't any smell to it, but you felt like there was. You really did.
You get a soggy cauldron of like brownie and vegetables and God knows what else was in there. Like it's gonna start fermenting and not smelling good pretty quickly. And I remember James went in there and he started plunging it. And he literally looks at us like halfway through and he goes, "No, I seriously might puke. I need to stop. I need to seriously go outside. I think I'm going to throw up."
Oh, it was so great. It really was great.
Yeah, amazing. All right, now let's get into small town crime. John Hawkes, who everyone knows now from True Detective, the new season of True Detective. Octavia Spencer, Robert Forster, Anthony Anderson's in this one. Another James Lafferty. Another great fucking movie. Is there a possibility of a small town crime 2?
I mean, anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
I think it would be a reconfiguring of assets for another property. But I do like.
We have a series in mind, is what we had in mind, and we hadn't pushed it to the point where we like had finished it and went around and pitched it or anything. But we definitely had something, you know what I mean? And we just haven't pursued it. We haven't pushed it because we've been working on other stuff.
Yeah, the features.
You kind of left it open at the end there a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
100%. And it was, we definitely had more adventures for Mike Kendall. Maybe he goes abroad, maybe he's moves around a little bit into some bigger cities. We had a lot of ideas for that, but so this is where they fire us, the agents and managers fire us. And then we go, I don't know how, but like, I feel like this is going to be something. And so
it ended up like the producers afterwards said, "Hey, what do you got? We got some money." And we said, "Hey, this one," they liked it. They said, "But you got to find some cast. Like, can you guys find some cast to cast this thing up?" So we were actually working with Octavia on a adaptation of a book she had. And we were just brainstorming, doing some development work with her and she invited us over. So we're sitting there for like an hour. And we just cut the trailer for Waffle Street. And she's like, "What are y'all working on?" We're like, "Oh, hey, we just cut the trailer for our latest movie." She hadn't seen it, didn't know about it. And we were like, it's called Waffle Street with Danny Glover and James Lafferty. And she's like, "Oh shit, Danny Glover? I love Danny Glover." We're like, "All right, great." She's like, "Oh, let me see that trailer. Let me see it." So we play it for her. And she's like, "Damn, y'all, this fucking looks good. This looks exciting. I love Danny Glover. Shit, I want to see this." And she's like, "Well, what are you doing next?" And we're like, "Well, we're rewriting this thing with you." She's like, "No, what feature film are you doing next?" We're like, "Okay."
And we kind of were prepared, right? It's not like we walked in there like we had a director's book,
a deck. We were going out to start pitching it.
Yeah, so we happened to have all this material with us when we went over there, and we also had the inside track that we knew Octavia loved, like whodunit crime stuff.
No, having known her for a decade at that point, like we knew.
Like I remember when she was watching like Making of a Murderer. And she was like, "He did it, y'all. Like I see it in his eyes. Like I know he did it." Those like docu-series on crime, true crime stuff.
And so she's like, "I love crime thrillers. Let me see that thing." So we show her the director's book, and she's like, "Oh, this looks great. This looks great, y'all. Let me read it." So she calls us back like 2 days later, and she's like, "I love it. I'm in. I'm EPing this thing. Like, is there like a cop or something I could play? Like, what are you guys thinking?" And we're like, "Okay, let us think about this." She's like, "Tell me what actor you want."
Bring your list.
We all landed on John Hawkes. And then she's like, "Oh, that's great. That's great. I love him." We're like, "Okay, great." And she's like, "Well, what do you?" And then we came to her. We had this idea after we pitched her. "Okay, well, what do you think? Instead of playing some random cop, like, what if we switch it? Because it was just,
and we just do like an interracial adopted family, and John's the screw up, adopted kid."
Exactly. And so she loved that idea. She's like, "Oh, that's really funny." So she was like, "All right, who do you want as my husband?" And we were like, "Well, we're big Anthony Anderson fans." And she's like, "All right, you know what? I actually know Anthony Anderson. We get our nails done at the same salon." So we were like, "Really? Okay." So it wasn't at the salon. She calls us back like 2 weeks later, and she's like, "I ran into Anthony. I pitched him this thing. He's now read it. He loves it. He's in, y'all. Anthony's in." We're like, "Holy shit, John Hawkes, Octavia Spencer, Anthony Anderson. Like, this is fucking like a dream cast of this thing."
Yeah, and then we got Bob Forrester.
And then we got Robert Forrester and Clifton Collins Jr. And then
it was a
Jeremy
pile
Ratchford and
Katie
James
Lotz.
Lafferty came in and played the evil bastards for us. Katie Lotz came in and did a bit for it. Man, we just had such a fucking, it was like Christmas every time, every day of shooting, because some wild character would be coming in, to blow us away with a performance with John. It was fun, man. It was super fun. And we finished that one. We got into South by Southwest.
And we did that one for like 1.9 in Utah.
1.9, yeah. And we get into South by Southwest with it. We got a premiere at the Paramount. I don't know if you've ever been to South by, but the Paramount's like a 1,200 seat auditorium with a balcony. And we sold that sucker out. and it was unbelievable. It was like that.
It'll be hard to eclipse that ever.
I thought I was gonna cry. Esh actually cried. We got a standing ovation on that last shootout with where Ratchford goes down. It was a standing ovation, and everyone had to sit back down to finish the movie. It was fucking insane.
Like, it was insane. Weird. There was like enough hype on the movie, but there was no one knew what to expect.
Right. It was like a lot of hype and no expectations.
Yeah. It was like the best case scenario, right?
They're like, look, there's some great actors in this. It's an interesting premise. Let's go check it out. This might just be terrible. And then fucking people loved it. We're like, woo. So it was fucking amazing. It was an amazing experience. We sold the film out of there in a little bit of a bidding war for basically what we made it.
Yeah, I remember the festival director told us, hey, no one comes to South by to sell a film. If you're thinking about selling your film out of here for for millions of dollars, it's not going to happen.
It's not fucking Sundance. So don't think you're going to come here and make that multi-million-dollar deal.
And then Ian and I turned to each other right after she said that, and like, we're selling our movie.
Fucking doing it.
And we even told her, we went up to her, we go, Janet, we love you, but we're gonna make a sale out of here.
Prove you wrong, Janet. She's like, all right, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And then we fucking did, man. Then we sold the damn thing for what we made it for, 1.9. And then
awesome. And then
Saban picked it up. And then that relationship was pretty incredible because we get new reps after that.
Yeah, we get some new representation.
And they were like, hey, they looked at our stuff and they're like, hey, I think this Fatman movie.
Well, we should stop.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right. Do you have any questions about Small Town Crime?
Small Town Crime? No, I don't really have any questions about it. It's just another phenomenal movie. And think about that. If anyone had seen Waffle Street or Lost on Purpose prior to going into that theater and then watching this, and like the fucking difference.
I know, man. It's like, it is, dude. It's night and day. I think that's where no one had any expectations, right? They're like, this is going to be some like scrappy little thing. I don't know what they expected, but man, I'm glad they were pleasantly surprised.
Me too.
Because it really did open the door for Fatman, which we thought
was a long way off.
No chance in hell we get to make that movie for at least another decade.
But the interesting thing started happening is that our team got together, looked at all of our stuff, and they were just like, although batshit crazy, like this Fatman film, there's something here. Like this is like really original. Like we think you should do this next. Like this is one of your most original.
And we were like, really? You think we should do this one next?
Okay, we were fucking excited. We were just like, holy shit, really? You think we could get that going? And they were like, let's try. But yes, we think this is the one you should make next. So they were very encouraging. Went to the hilt to get us in all these meetings. We took like 20 meetings. With financiers.
We were supposed to make it with a studio first.
Yeah, we had a studio that was really interested in it, wanted to do it. And then some creative differences on casting and how it should end. And we were like, I think we're going to go to these independent companies that we're interested in, see if we can do it there. Because we just wanted to keep the script intact. We did not want to compromise. It was not one of those scripts. Like we had notes, and this was not necessarily the studio, but there were some, they just wanted to conventionalize it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, maybe start the thing with like, Mrs. Claus reading from a book and you launch into, we're like, that's fucking Elf or whatever. Like, that's not this movie. And then they're like, well, maybe keep it the road trip with Little Billy and the Hitman. We're like, that sounds fucking, they made that movie. It's called Dutch. Like, they don't want to make that movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the movie. The movie is fucking Santa and the Hitman, and the little bastard sets it in motion.
Yeah, and we were like, for us, like, and they were like, you need some scenes with like Santa coming down the chimney and like tiptoeing through houses. And we were like,
that's what we avoided.
Like, we
don't want those scenes.
We're like, this is the movie that's between all of those moments. Like we've all seen
what makes Fatman so great is it makes Santa a real person. It turns him into a real person.
That's what we were after. We were after the moments between him and Mrs. Claus, where they're, doing other things.
Dude, we literally got pitched. You need the moment where Santa and his sleigh is going in front of the moon. And we were like, fuck you. We'll take our exit now. Thank you.
So talking about some of the flack, the pushback, did you get any flack for having, what was her name? Marianne Jean Baptiste as Mrs. Claus? A black woman as Mrs. Claus? Did you get any pushback for that?
Nobody in the producing team.
They liked it. They thought it was cool. They thought it was fun.
And all the actors loved the idea. So that not really. That was actually one that was like really like. I remember we told Mel about it. He's like, I fucking love it. Let's do it.
Oh, that sounds.
He's like, we gonna do it with the accent too. I'm like, heck yeah. He's like, I love that idea.
Yeah, because he loved the idea of Marianne, and then when he was like, well, what are you gonna do? She's British, and we're like, oh, we love the accent. We're gonna keep it. He's like, oh fuck, I love that.
He's like, what sleigh ride did we meet on?
Yeah, he was totally down. He loved every aspect of it, thankfully. And like that meeting was interesting because we hit like 20 companies, right? And we're like, hey, This is the movie. We're excited. You know, some people were like, change it into Dutch. Some people were like, hey, do this, do that. And we were like, fuck, it's, you know, and then we started getting some companies that were like, hey, we like it the way it is. Like, we think this could be really fucking crazy. Like, why compromise and ruin 20% of the film just to try to make it fit into some box? Like, why would we do that? And we were like, okay, these are the companies we want to work with. And the problem there was that we were about $1.5 million short of being able to make, you know, make the film, because that last $1.5 million
to barely pull off the movie
was what we needed to actually build a few sets. You know what I mean? So we were like, well, if we can't build a few sets, we're not going to be able to like find an elf workshop that looks anything like an elf workshop. You're going to be like in some Toyota factory, like saying, yeah, that's fucking Santa's. That's not a thing that makes fucking doors, you know? It was just going to be like us trying to find something that looked like it could be that. And obviously anybody that worked in the auto industry would be like, this is fucking ridiculous. You know, we needed some originality. We needed to build some shit, and it was going to cost $1.5 million more. And so we were like, all these companies were sort of stuck at this number shy of $1.5 million. All these companies, they're all the same number because they're all doing the same gymnastics, mathematics with the cast internationally and saying, this is your number. This is what you have to make it for. And then we got this call from Saban. Like I was saying, that relationship really paid off.
And they had done so well on Small Town that they were like, what do you guys need? And we're like, wow, you know, we need another 1.5
million.
And they're like, yeah, we'll give it to you.
And they're like, we're gonna give it to you because we fucking love you guys. This movie's batshit crazy. Like, let's see you pull this off.
And they're like, we want to invest in you guys.
Yeah, and they're like, we're investing in you. Like, we fucking love you guys. We're like, fuck, amazing. Okay, Jesus. So they were literally the only game in town that said, hey, we're putting our nuts on the block and let's go make this thing. Everybody else was like, can you knock $1.5 million out? Because we're not doing it.
Can you just lose one nut?
Yeah, just one. Just chop it. So we were like, no. Thank goodness Saban came in and was like, we're gonna do it. So they saved our bacon. They went hard for us and came in with that extra $1.5 million, and we were able to actually make the film we were excited to make. You know, would we have loved to, you know, 6 more helicopter shots and whatever? Yes, but like we were able to get it done the way we needed to get it done for that extra $1.5 million.
So a couple questions. What was it like working with Mel and Walton Goggins? Walton Goggins he's a phenomenal fucking actor, man. If anyone hasn't seen him in The Righteous Gemstones as Uncle Baby Billy, it's one of the greatest characters ever on the planet Earth. It's so fucking, he's so good.
That dude is a genius, like straight up a genius. So we'll start with Walton.
Yeah.
So I remember we met with a bunch of like really great acters.
We met like 10 of them. We met like 10 amazing actors that would have made amazing Skinny Man.
Yeah, and they were all going to be great in their own right. But I remember we went out to we were summoned to go meet Walton at a coffee shop in some hotel or something. And it's not intimate. It's crowded. There's people all over the place in there. We're sitting across from Walton, and he starts getting amped about the script. He starts talking about the Skinny Man. Then he stands up, like rifle in hand, and he becomes the Skinny Man. He metamorphosizes into the Skinny Man in front of us. And he goes,
incredible.
I'm looking down on this elf, and I'm wondering, and we're just like, holy smokes, dude.
We're like, wow, like the intensity and like the fucking eccentricities, like it was all fucking shining, and we were just like, fuck, dude, he is like the guy.
Yeah, I would say we're like, he's fucking hired. We're getting Walton. We're going on this show, like journey, and God Almighty, was he brilliant? And just working with him, dude, he throws so many options at you, right? And he's always on a voyage of discovery.
It's an embarrassment of riches with that guy. You have so much stuff to work with. He's
like,
giving you so much.
I'm just thinking about some of the scenes we edited, and like the scene where he's like calling the post office and he's like on his laptop smoking, and like he gets like
pacing around.
Yeah. Like I remember when he starts beating the shit out of the laptop on one of those takes and was like, okay, we're going to use that. Like, how do we make, like, we got to back into that edit, right? Like he just does these really cool things. And you're like, okay, we have to get that in the movie, and like, let's figure out how to edit around that.
Yeah. He was a lot of fun to work with. Very different from Mel. He's one of those guys, like, Esh storyboards the entire movie. So we have the whole thing kind of storyboarded out, and you're like, you show Walt in the frame, and like, you're not married to the storyboards, but you know, usually you end up with something pretty close to that. Whereas Walton would walk in and you're like, hey, we're thinking ABC. And then he'd be like A, D, F, G. There's no F, G on the storyboard.
Can we get a camera up on the stairs?
Great. So you got to reconfigure a little bit, but you know, giving him some context and then cutting him loose is fucking really fun, because he starts thinking of all kinds of strange shit.
Like when he kissed that hamster.
But yeah, that was not a script, you know. He's fucking like at one point he like tries to put him in his mouth, like he's just fucking around, having fun, and he's like, "You can't get a disease from a hamster, can you?" Like it was like a bunch of funny ass shit that he starts thinking about after he's like impulsively doing it.
And he's like, we like walk in the house, and he like it's not even the shot. He like starts pulling food out of the fridge for that first hit. And it's like the fridge is in the background. It's not in the shot. And we're like, dude, what do you do? He like just walks over to it and starts rummaging through it. And we're like, oh, that's fucking great. So we got throw a camera in the fridge, you know, pick that.
Now being that you guys like weren't formally trained in this type of thing, do you and you're working with these like, you know, well-known actors who have been around it forever. Is that something that you just you have to roll with then? Like you're like, okay, this is what we're doing.
No, I mean, look, like there are times where it goes off the rails and you're like, hey, let's huddle up real quick. You know, like maybe we don't like pee off the balcony this take. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we're just like, hey, if it goes a little too batty, we'll reel it in. But then there's other folks, you know, that like they want to know like exactly what mark you want them to hit, whether you want them to look on what line, and like they're like, you're like, hey, can you turn a little to your left to catch the light? And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. And they're like doing it all perfectly, and it feels utterly and completely naturalistic. And you're like, this is phenomenal.
But you just gave them like 8 robotic moves to do, and they make it look fucking flawlessly perfect.
Yeah, like any other actor would be like, wait, what? You want me to take 3 steps, hit the light, turn my mark, and then, you know,
how am I supposed to do all that and stay in the moment, you know? But there's some people that can do that, you know? So you just find the actors, how the actor works, and then you try to work as well as you can within their parameters, because you want the best out of them. They want the best out of you. You know, so you're just trying to find that middle ground of getting the best out of everybody.
And I don't know if John works like this on everybody, but I remember with Small Town Crime, like John's very specific on what
is in the script, what the dialogue is,
like
word by word.
Hit them like, what mark do you want me to hit? Where do you want me to look? There. He's super open to all that. I'm sure he works other ways as well, but like he was just like, okay, you want me to look on this line? Great, I got it.
On that one, it was like, okay, he was the ABC D guy. He was nailing everything perfectly and you know.
And Mel's got a little bit of that too, but Mel's more like, hey, he'll like pitch you ideas. He's like, hey, do you think this line's funny? And he'll like give you the line. You're like, oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah, put that in there.
And then he'll give us another one. He's like, too far. And we're all,
that's a little far.
Then he'll be wandering around and come back, pitch you another one. Okay, that was pretty good. You know, just little things he wants to slip in between lines and stuff, or things he's thinking of when like a lot of those moments when him and Marianne, when they're huddling up and he's like stealing cookies from her and shit and saying like, oh, you know, like these little one-offs that he's doing with her. He had a million of those.
Remember when he was like, funny. You ever hear the word cadge? Can I catch a glass? We're like, catch? I don't know what that word.
But like all the stuff he was coming up with could work very well for a guy who's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like weird fucking phrases that aren't in rotation anymore that he's still using. He was thinking of some really cool shit.
But dude, like, so that was like a pretty nerve-wracking in the beginning, right? Like, what the heck? How are you going to direct Mel Gibson? You know, like this dude's won Oscars for direction. Like, this should be an Oscars for his performance. You're like, wow, this is gonna be really interesting.
But I mean, the first thing we do is try to just, you know, is to stay true to your vision and keep moving forward. And thankfully, Mel and Walton are 2,000% on board to help you reach that vision. You know what I mean? These are team players who work exactly the opposite way or very differently at least. Whereas like, you know, and it was awesome because Mel is so versed in direction. There were just times where he's like, you know, he would drop little things, or we would just start talking about a scene that he had, and we would try to use that in a scene that was similar in ours, you know, where I'm saying like a gory scene that you double print 2 frames in the edit, shit like that, where he was talking about stuff in Braveheart and he was talking about stuff in Heartbreak Ridge. And he's a real film.
We were just stealing as much as we could.
We were just trying to pump that guy for as much great stuff as possible. And luckily he's super outward about it. He'll tell you everything. He's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going back to what you said about Walton getting up and standing there with the gun, like pretending he's holding a gun. I don't know if that's an actor thing, but like after doing this podcast, I've become friends with like certain people who I'm still blown away that I'm friends with, like Mark Singer, the Beastmaster. Yeah. He's one of those guys where he'll do that. Like if he's talking about something, he'll pop up out of his seat and he'll start like acting. And one time, just a quick little story, I was sitting in Mark Singer's living room and like he's like trying to teach me acting. He's like thinks that I'd be a good actor, and he's like walking me through this thing, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to like be angry, Mark. I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person. You know what I mean? And he stood up and he got right in my face and he's like, if you don't think I'll beat the shit out of you right here in my living room. And he's like, I'm like, dude, calm down. Like, he's like, that's acting. He's like, I would never do any of those things to you. I was like,
nah, I'm just fucking with you. I'm just fucking with you.
That's awesome. Those are amazing moments.
You're
it
absolutely right, man. Like, actors are such wonderfully beautiful human beings, man. They're just wired a very, very special way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, Fatman, it's just phenomenal movie. And then to go from Squirrel Trap to Fatman, and then now what's coming out in just a few days, this movie, guys. Holy shit.
The Red Riding Hood.
I watched it twice back to back.
Dude, that's amazing. Wow.
I've never seen Andy McDowell in a role like this. I'm not too familiar with Orlando Bloom's work. I know he's been in some famous movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, but that's not stuff that I'm into. But this fucking movie, guys, holy shit.
Oh, awesome, man. I'm so glad you dug it.
It's so good, guys.
We had a blast making it. I mean, like when we read the script, the character, it's not our script. So this is like,
yeah. So that I have a couple questions about that. So you guys didn't write this one, and this is the writer's first feature film.
Yeah.
So like, what made you take this on as a thing to do? And being that you are writers, did you get to change any of the dialogue at all that you weren't comfortable with or didn't think fit?
So that's a bit of a process there. So
just take them through it.
We'll go back a little bit. So in 2017, when Small Town Crime was doing the rounds, Orlando Bloom watched it and he liked it and he wanted to sit down with us. And so we had breakfast with Orlando and we just hit it off. And we just really enjoyed getting to know him as a person beyond Pirates of the Caribbean, Lord of the Rings, and elves and things like that, right? Like we're like, wow, this guy's really got a lot of layers to him. And
I've never seen on screen.
Yeah, and I think he's got some exciting things to offer on screen that people haven't seen before, and that excited us. And so he was like, "Dude, I'd love to work with you guys. Like, knock out my teeth, give me face tattoos, like whatever you want to do, I'm down." And we're like, "Okay, cool. Like, let's figure out something to do." So when Jonathan Easley's script landed on our desk, first of all, we absolutely were like, "Wow, these characters leap off the page," and there was like some like the dialogue was fantastic. The story was a real page turner. We were like, wow, this is a great script. And then we were like, but if we get Orlando to play Cash, now that's like really exciting for us because not only do we have a great story, but we have an actor that I've never seen do a story like that.
So that was kind of twofold.
Yeah.
We were really excited we liked the script a lot, but we were really excited kind of the combo of the script in Orlando. So we texted Orlando. We said, hey, we've got something we want to pass your way. He's like, all right, send it over. And when he read it, hit us up and was like, holy shit, y'all, I'm in. Let's do this. Like, let's go. This is crazy. This is like a badass movie. I want to do this. This is awesome. And we're like, all right, awesome. So we had our guy, and he was, from that point on, he went into like 3 months worth of dialogue and dialect, working on his dialect for it. He was 100% in, working on the look, working on like, he just worked his ass off on this movie. And I think that's why, and I think it shows, you know what I mean? Yeah. And even like the physicality of the character, right? He really wanted to do something unique with his physicality and like get a little bulkier because he felt this guy needed to be really capable. So I think for him, like the physical transformation is pretty awesome. It's amazing. Yeah. I couldn't ask for a better partner on that. Like he really went to the hilt to give us something new and fresh.
And then
we run this. We run this podcast network, the Deluxe Edition Network, with 33 different podcasts on it. And I have a big group chat, and I put the poster in there, and I said everybody should make sure they watch this on the 23rd. One of the girls said, unless Orlando Bloom is shirtless without his pants on, I'm not watching it. And I said, well, you're in luck because there's a scene where he's in his boxers.
Check.
And that's funny, man. We'll send her the original edit of that scene because it was a little bit longer.
Fantastic.
It was him shaming all of us men. It was ridiculous. The man's a specimen.
You asked about the writing process, so we can back up just a touch in that the script came. We were excited about Orlando for the role, but we did want to do some work on it. Jonathan was an incredible collaborator. Like we wanted to push a lot of these action sequences that are in there. It was a little bit smaller. It was a little more condensed, not a lot of that last like 20-minute section wasn't the freaking crazy melee that it is that intermingles a lot of the characters and a lot of the themes. And we just kind of pumped that out with him, and he did all the writing. And we just would get together with him, brainstorm a ton of it, and then he would go and put it down. And he did such a phenomenal job. Like we've done collaborative efforts before with writers who want to keep writing on their own script. And, their heart's not in it at times, because they liked the script the way it was. And if you're trying to change this, they're kind of like, well, is that what you wanted? They're not like, woo, this is a cool note. And look what I did.
Sure.
And I did this down the river to make sure it worked. Jonathan was that guy. He was the guy that was going and giving us everything he had to make the notes work, because we had developed them together and he was excited about them as we were, Yeah.
Nice.
And then there was the pass that Esh and I do right before we direct, which we take a few weeks to just make sure everything's beat out and we can see every action beat and know what we're looking at when Esh starts the board.
Cool. This is also the biggest cast that you guys have ever worked with, right?
I don't know. I mean,
It's a pretty big ensemble.
As far as the sheer number of parts.
Yeah, like it's just like the amount of people, not really that have all speaking roles, but there's a lot of people in this movie.
It's packed. It is packed with like that supporting cast is thick.
Yeah, it's hard because there was like, I don't know. I think of Fatman. I'm like, oh well, there was a lot of that too.
Yeah,
but
that's true. Yeah,
it's big. They're both. There's, they all feel like a lot when you're in the middle of them. But yeah,
sure. I forgot about Fatman. Fatman, there is a lot of people in that too.
I mean, especially the elves.
Yeah.
The elves alone.
Yeah, I know we do like a big ensemble cast. It just, I don't know, makes the world feel more real to us and more full to us. If you can kind of picture even the guy with a couple of lines, you can kind of picture his life and kind of understand him. We do go by the credo of no character left behind. If it's like a couple of lines, you're like, I want to feel this guy a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess you want to talk about Andy?
Yeah, a little bit. One of the things I noticed that you guys do in a bunch of your movies that is this something that you guys started doing, or I guess it is because I heard it. I know I heard it in one of your other movies too, where you guys do is something I remember as a kid. A lot of movies would do is the title drop, where you say the name of the title in the movie at some point.
Sometimes. Does Small Town Crime do it?
I
don't know if
I don't remember. I know for sure you guys do it in Red Right Hand.
Yeah, at the very end, there's a hit on it because we definitely wanted to
show.
We really liked
that passage,
like what it was based on, And I think getting to the end of the film and that was another thing that we collaborated with Jonathan to put at the end, because I actually really liked the touchback to what is it, Dante's Inferno, right? Is that what it is? No, it's
not Milton.
Sorry, it's Milton. It's Milton. Thank you. I literally have done that before.
Yeah,
it's Milton's Paradise Lost, and he has this passage in there, where it's basically talking about the devil and the revenge, and this is Red Right Hand of revenge, which I think it's a really cool touchback to just a lot of the themes in the movie, for you to sort of end, and it has a hopeful ending.
Now we don't want to
spoil.
I don't want to spoil.
I don't want to get spoilery, but it has a hopeful ending, although we travel through a whole lot of darkness,
Yeah. It's a good one, man. Let's talk about Andie MacDowell. I've never seen her in a role like this before, and she was phenomenal.
Dude, I agree.
So this is a bit my bad, and I'm 100% up to own this. So we kicked around Andie MacDowell's name, and I was like, for Big Cat, and I was like, man, we've never seen her do this before. Like, there's no way she's gonna do it.
It wasn't that we weren't excited for her to try.
Yeah, I was just like, there's no way that she's going to do it.
It would have been awesome if we were like, oh, she wants to do this. We talked to her before, but we didn't know her. We didn't know anybody that knew her. And it was just like, she's on the list, but it's like, are we really going to go after her and waste a month trying to get a read from someone
because
who's not even going to be interested in doing something like this?
To Ian's point, like you go and you submit to these actors, and it could take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month for them to even get back to you.
So a lot of these like exciting choices of like, well, why didn't you get this person to do that role? That would have been exciting. You're like, well, yeah, it would have been if I had
2 years,
an extra month or year to like, like sometimes it takes people a long time. You don't get the answer. Maybe they didn't have time to read it or whatever it is. It takes a lot of time to get passes and get yeses and nos. So
miraculously,
you have to sort of find this middle ground in a lot of these casting decisions or moments of where you're like, we need to go after somebody that's realistic, but we also need to go after somebody who's exciting, and we need to go after somebody, that's a bit of a reach for us because you want to level up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, but miraculously, the script found its way to Andy. in a divine path, and it weaved its way through. And her people read it, and they're like, I think you might be interested in it. She read it, and then they reached out to us, and we're like, hey,
Andy really digs this.
Andy McDowell wants to talk to you guys.
And we were like, you got to be shitting me. So we sit down with her on a Zoom, and she's got a little bit of the big cat with her. She's bringing it a little bit on the Zoom call, totally pleasant and awesome. But you could see the little moments that she's kind of choosing to show us, hey, I got this in me. And she actually tells us at one point, she says, boys, I know I haven't done anything like this, and it's hard for you to envision me, possibly hard for you to envision me in this, but trust me, I have this in me. Just ask my kids. We were like, oh.
But you could already see it. And she's obviously a great actor, so there was no doubt that if she had the desire, she could do it, right? Like we're all, man, she's a Paramount talent. There's no way she can't do it. It was just, wow, I can't believe
does she have the desire?
And the hunger is there to do it.
And she was super pumped about it. So we're like, all right, I think we found our girl. Because we just talking to her, seeing some of the flair she chose to give us on the call, and then just thinking about her in the role and thinking about, people watching her and coming in and being, hopefully floored by the choices and the chances she's taken on screen are really exciting.
Yeah. Where was this one? Where did you guys film this one at?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes, we shot this in Louisville, Kentucky. And it was really interesting because we literally shot it in the hollers of Knob Creek, which is old like bootlegger country.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So it's
got beautiful. The scenery is beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so stunning, but there was like
tornadoes
that what we learned real fast is like shooting a movie in Kentucky in the spring is a temperamental beast. Like that weather is pretty insane. We would get shut down for tornadoes. We were getting shut down for like extreme rainstorms and lightning strikes. Like we would have everyone run to the shelter, and then lightning would be striking, like 100 feet out in the middle of the field, like right down on the ground.
It was crazy.
It was pretty intense. I as a California guy, like I don't see a lot of weather that wild and woolly.
You see rain here, you're kind of like, I'll still go out and walk to the store. You see rain there, you're like, I'm not leaving the porch. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I would have been like swimming down the driveway.
Yeah, with lightning bolts.
It was pretty wild. And I remember also you just don't realize everything in there's a lot of things in Louisville that can kill you, right? Like I remember we were out scouting.
It was cottonheads.
Yeah, and like cottonmouths.
What?
And
cottonmouth.
Yeah, and they were like
what? They swim too. We're like,
yeah, like we were out scouting a stream, right? And like we're walking near it, and like be careful, we got cottonmouths over there, and I'm like, cottonmouths? What the fuck is that? Like I'm like fucking snakes, and like, oh yeah, we're like, we're in the water, like those they swim. We're like, I'll give it. We're like, we're running out there. Like we just don't realize there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's pretty wild. So we learned a lot about Kentucky. We were there for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
We drove all around the hills of Kentucky. We got to know the locals. They were a bit skeptical of us at first, but came around at the, eventually.
And S drives a very conspicuous van. So now at first they were like, hey, we're going to shotgun you down if you come down my driveway.
Yeah, we got pulled over by the cops, right? And they were like, what are you doing around here? And we're like, we're looking for a location for a movie. He goes,
they're like, we've been getting reports on your vans.
Yeah. He goes, you drove by the same house 3 times. We're like, yeah. He's like,
it's called location scouting.
He's like, that's a good way to get shot. And I'm like, driving by a house is a good way to get shot.
The cop is telling us that.
Yeah.
He's all, a lot of people out here, they just go missing.
Yeah. He's like, dude, it's like they put the fear of God in us, man. We were like, this is some serious terrain.
So, and
That's
pretty
awesome.
soon word got out we were making a movie, and even local law enforcement was pretty familiar with Esh's van. So we were driving around location scouting, and people would be like, oh, I saw your van. I was like, oh, so it's those boys making that movie.
Yeah, and then we'd have people flagging us down, like, hey, we just got some stew. You want a Pabst or whatever? We're like, yeah, let's go. We quickly became ingratiated into the community, but there was a bit of a learning curve for everybody.
But it's the kindest people ever. Once they realize you're not out to it's them or something.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want your leaf blower. I'm good. Like
they're totally cool. They're like, oh shit. They're asking us to come in for lunch and beers.
But we would like to pay you to rent your Ford, your Ram step side. So can we rent your truck?
That's awesome. Ray, what did I miss with these guys?
You didn't miss a damn thing. These are my favorite kind of interviews because my job is to just fill dead space and throw one-liners. I didn't have to do shit tonight. This was
oh man, we gotta shut up. We're not letting you do your job.
No, I like it this way. You guys,
right now.
You guys were fun, man.
Yeah, this was awesome, guys. So the movie's coming out the 23rd, right? This is it Friday or Saturday?
Friday the 23rd. coming out in
it'll be
theaters.
some theatrical just as presentations, so you can look at your local apps or your local houses, see if it's near you, and if not, it'll be on all major streaming platforms or
to rent or buy on
demand platforms.
Yeah, on the on demand and the TVOD stuff. So whatever you want. It's a day and date, so they come out at the same time. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, man. I can highly recommend every one of your movies that I've seen. I got started on Night of the Dog today. I didn't have quite enough time to finish it, but I will watch it. I promise you. Big fans. Plug away, man. Where can everybody find you? All that stuff.
I think we got some social media. Yes, like
Twitter and Twitter. Ash is not obviously doing much of it. I don't even know where we're at, but Instagram and Twitter, Nelms Bros. There's also NelmsBros.com, which kind of keeps you up to date with everything we're doing. It's our website, everything we've done. So you can easily, look at our past films and access them or find a place to access them through there. Night of the Dog and Squirrel Trap, a little harder to find. Got to probably reach out to us personally.
Got to know some people.
Got to know the man. I know the man behind the man. But yeah, everything's out there pretty much. And yeah, if you really want a deep dive, you could try to find Squirrel Trap and Night of the Dog. But I mean, I don't know. Those are the beginnings, the humble beginnings.
Man, so humble.
Maybe down the road we'll see a DVD or Blu-ray release of those two.
That would be really fun.
I mean, I think what our plan was like, hey, let's throw them as like a special feature on something, Like I'd love to like juxtapose that with some like massive Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see some of the DVD or Blu-ray compilations on some of our favorite filmmakers. Like the Duplex Brothers will do a good job of putting like a bunch of their short films that got them started. Or
I remember M. Night did it too.
Yeah, I think M. Night's done it too with much of the stuff.
Yeah.
It's just an encouragement, right? Like you need to see that like from people that you like. I mean, that's when we saw M. Night's first films, we're like, okay, there's a shot. You mean there's a chance?
Look how terrible these were when he was 9.
I mean, I think they're pretty accomplished, but this for a 9-year-old is pretty.
But it is for a 9-year-old, it's really impressive. But you just think to yourself, okay, he started somewhere too. Like we don't have to jump right into Thor. It's not going to work like that.
And there's a series out there too somewhere. I saw on your website.
Yes. You're better at this job than we are. You're hired.
I'm available. I'm unemployed since October. Hire me.
We all are, dude. The whole town's been on strike for a year.
Guys, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say
we appreciate it, man.
Everyone's doing great. In case anybody wants to find that, the second season should be coming out here pretty quick.
Awesome. Is that available? Where is that? Where can people find that?
We were on Hulu, and then that deal ran out a few months ago, and now it'll be sold to a new home when the second season comes out. So they're in the process of shopping that right now. So I don't have hey, go to Hulu or go to Paramount Plus, but it'll be. We have some offers in on a couple of territories, so it'll be finding a home pretty quick, and we can start talking about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are welcome back anytime, guys. This was fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. We can't thank you enough, man. I really appreciate it.
It's been a treat, gents.
No problem. Yep. Thank you, guys.
Much love, guys.
Thank you.
Have a nice
later.
Bottom right corner. Slow it all down, Savannah. See it. Say the word. You know what to do. God.
For God.
Family.
Family. Survival.
Survival.
Big Cat just wanted us to pay a little visit.
Leave him alone!
They're under the impression that you're in Big Cat's debt that you owe.
I took a loan on my place.
How much trouble are we in?
Oh, I'll handle it. I got a Big Cat problem. The damn queen of Oldham County.
I'm not sure what I could do about that.
If you're gonna survive in these hills, you need to get used to a little blood.
Why are you putting the screws on me and my family?
Now, I got good, strong boys. They don't have your gifts. I thought I'd give you a chance to work off the debt, so I don't put your niece and brother-in-law in a hole.
3 jobs to pay off a debt. 3 jobs and I'm done.
It don't matter what you do. I say when it's over.
Father, give me the courage to kill these bastards. Amen. ready for war?
I never needed something more in my life.
Take him out. Make a show of it.
All right, boys. For God. Let's go, kid! For family. Let's survive.